some board didn't file them, you didn't go chase them?
No, we don't do that.
You
The only-
just kept them?
Yes,
Okay.
but the only time that we would do that is if we get a request for records through our office. Then we would contact that board or committee. We would certainly direct the person to that board or committee first. But sometimes they don't want to go to the board or committee, and sometimes the board or committee is a part-time one, so they're not in the town hall like our office is open all the time. In that case, I will make a request to the board or committee that somebody was looking for certain minutes of a certain meeting, and if they want to file them with us, we'll have them available, or to make them available to the person. And the public records law is clear about that they must be available, that there's a 10-day time period for a board or committee to produce them and provide them to the public. There are fees that can be imposed, you know, that's all under public records laws.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah.
You.
You're talking about hard copies. You have to maintain a hard copy on file. Would a recording or a filming of a meeting such as this be considered a hard copy as well?
No, it is not. It can be kept in addition to the paper copy, but the law is specific about paper copies.
Okay, so
And any audio tape or videotape can be in addition to a meeting, but not in place of the minutes in
Yeah.
hard copy.
as the minutes are taken, they are also recorded.
Correct.
All right, so this recording is secondary to the handwritten interpretation of that recording.
That is correct.
Okay. Would the laser fiche program help us in any way? Right?
It would help as far as being able to scan these minutes. If each department scanned their minutes in, they could have them available to themselves in the electronic format. They still have to maintain the paper copies someplace to be able to produce them, but they could rely on that. If they knew that they copied these records and the records are complete, they could use that source to reproduce them for the benefit of the public. But they cannot use that software program as a replacement
As a
for the hard
replacement,
copies
right.
still.
But it could help you in the sense that you'll have easy accessibility. You can take the hard copies and you can find a dark room to put them in there for a long time and not worry about them as long as they're filed, that they're accessible
Correct.
if required.
Right,
But-
in a safe
but-
place
but
still.
in a safe place,
Yep.
out of the
There-
way.
The law is specific about that.
Right, so they're out of the way, but we still have efficiencies in our system.
Correct.
With the laser fiche.
Correct. And as long as the custodian department is confident that they have all of those minutes in the electronic format, they can rely on that to, you know, for their daily business.
And just to be sure I understand, what you're looking to do is to take the minutes from, well, change the bylaw on the town bylaw on the minutes that are kept for committees and subcommittees. And
For the copies of minutes, let's stress that, these are copies of minutes on file in my office, not original minutes. That's the difference.
oh,
Where
I
the
gue- I
original
guess-
minutes still reside with the Board of Selectmen in that office,
Right, so you have an original and you have copies?
copies.
And you
And-
can't just dispose of those, or?
I could if this bylaw didn't exist.
Okay,
But where the bylaw exists, I feel bound to keep these. And I have records going back to the 1960s as far as minutes.
so you're talking duplicates here.
Absolutely, duplicates. And if the bylaw were followed to the letter, the original, the existing language calls for all of these copies of minutes to be filed with any appointing authority too. So if you look at this board, and how many boards and committees do you appoint, there would be another set of all of these minutes of every board and committee that you appoint on file in your offices here.
They'd have to come to us, and we'd have to approve them, is that what I'm understanding? And
Approve
then
them.
they have to
I think what
accept
it's
them?
saying is,
No.
if we appoint a committee,
Right.
then the onus is on us to make sure that that committee provides us a copy of the minutes.
Yes,
Right.
that, and every
Right.
appointing authority has that right. If you're appointing a board or committee, you can make it one of your stipulations to that committee, if you're so interested and so inclined, that that committee provides you as a board in whole or your liaison with copies of the minutes of every meeting.
So it's not a
It doesn't-
requirement.
Correct, correct.
we have a right to request.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But the current bylaw requires them to file it with the appointed
Right.
authority.
Yes, and I don't believe that that's followed at all. You know, I've checked. And I don't believe that anybody wants it to be. So we're trying to get everybody in compliance now. So,
Any other questions on Article 27? Article 28 is ours, correct?
It's on the annual report.
Yeah, well, it's also changing the date, because we moved.
Yeah.
our
Right.
meeting.
It was, again,
Yeah.
just trying to make things
Do you
agree
have
with
any
the charter
comments about
change.
that?
Nope, just, you know, I kind of went through the general bylaws to find any more of these little loopholes that would make us consistent with the charter now. So I think that one was just a change from by the April town meeting to April 1st annually. You know, I think we still want to produce that book early on. I don't think we want to wait till June town meeting. So
I thought we were gonna try to modify it so we don't have to print it, though.
the annual report?
Yep.
Well, it is a requirement for it to be printed.
But it doesn't have
It's
to be one
certain
for
issue,
everybody.
it doesn't
Right,
say.
and it's not in the
does-
bylaw.
And it's not in the bylaw.
It,
Not
No,
the
it's state law.
chart.
and I think there was I think I forwarded you,
I got it.
that it's, there was something in there about printed copies too.
On file, one, right?
We don't have to do anything with the bylaw and the printed town report. We just have to adjust our budget accordingly, and as long as we produce a couple of printed copies, we're fine.
And we can always put a
And
copy
I know that
up on the,
Mrs.
website.
Stats does require a printed copy, and there are several other departments that do require printed copies.
But we would post it on our website.
You can do a couple of hundreds instead of a couple of thousand.
Right.
Then you,
5,000.
right,
Right.
some of the,
Yeah.
some
Exactly.
doesn't have the access to the internet, and they call and
Exactly.
request one, then we can
You
send
can
it.
have it
I
at the
think that's
library,
right
have it at the
thing to do.
clerk's office,
Oh,
at the library,
absolutely.
have it, you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the internet, I
Right.
understand that.
Right.
But, you know, even if we get 20%
It's
of what
definitely,
we
yeah,
use,
you can definitely limit how many copies, because nothing specifies how many copies have to be printed.
I don't recall the number off the top of my head.
$10,000, I think.
No, it's not that much. It's not that much. It might be $4,000 or $5,000 that we spend on it.
And then, anything on 20, any more on 28? On 29, any questions regarding,
Which one's that?
Which one is that the listing of other changes from
Yeah.
June to, April to June, I believe?
That's it.
Again, that
Yeah.
just makes everything consistent with the charter.
yeah,
Yep, I think that wraps up all
It
of
was
those.
thoroughly ingrained in our charter and bylaw.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Which one is that one
This is
again?
probably the 10th one.
29, I
Yeah.
think, Mr. Yule.
It's just an
And I
administrative
think
change.
that has three
172.
different sections of the bylaws that had changes from April to June town meeting.
any other questions for Barbara?
Makes sense to me.
Amen.
Thank you, Barbara.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
See you in town meeting.
Yes.
I see 3 residents of Foley Drive here. Are you here
I was
for
gonna say, we probably screwed up.
the hearing? Because what we did was we ran through them all in advance. But seeing that you're here, and we probably should not, we didn't anticipate people being here. We certainly give you an opportunity to speak on the issue. I'll tell you what the board voted, and if there's an issue that we would need to reconsider, we'd be glad to do that.
The letter did say 7:40.
It did, no,
It
we,
did. There's no question about that.
I still have, I haven't given them to anybody, so. Hold on. a
Board,
moment.
the board did vote to accept the street. It's obviously been there for a long,
Little
long
overdue.
time. But do you have any questions?
Yes,
If you do, could you come up to the microphone, Bob?
I'm Robert Lexon. I live on 3 Foley Drive. I've been there since 1976. When we first moved in there, it was a delightful dead-end street. The only access road was Duane Drive, with approximately 5 homes on it. On around about 21, 22 years ago, they turned around and they opened up a dirt link road, excuse me, and it was about 200 feet. And what they did is that they changed the flow of traffic. And at that time, I don't think anybody really understood what happened. But what they did is that they changed it to a point where we now have, in part, combination of existing homes and new homes. We have about 112 homes that have direct access to Foley Drive. At 2 cars per family, of course. But it's the speeding, it's the traffic flow that constantly is pounding on Foley Drive. It's the heavy flow of heavy trucking. The road is broken at the crown. Curbing has been plowed up by contract plowers, hasn't been replaced. The sidewalks are a mess. They're all buckled and sunk. I mean, you have to walk in the street to get an even footpath. And that's what we're concerned about, but really is the traffic and the speeding. It's just awful. You know, you come out of Arlene Drive and you take that right-hand turn and down Foley Drive. You know, it takes about 5 or 6 turns to come out of Susan Drive to get over to Foley Drive. I don't know how anybody wants to turn their car wheel 5 or 6 times to finally get to Haverhill Street and be of some sort of a stable, sound mind and say, was it really worth it? Now, I have been led to believe that the Conservation Commission approved 5 years ago to change the road. And I don't know why that has not been done. Not only is there 1 access road that's been approved, but a possibility of 2. That I recently discovered today, by the way.
Well, what was the conservation, I'm trying to think what the Conservation Commission approved what?
They approved, I think, a road called Charles Street.
Oh, Charles Street extension up and.
Right. And so I was, I don't know why that hasn't been followed up on.
It's not Charles, not.
Whatever, I don't, whatever, it's off of Haverhill Street.
So here's Foley, here's Haverhill.
Show them, you can show them.
Charles goes out to Deerfield.
We have a map here.
You have a copy. I gave a copy of my letter and the map to the town engineer this morning. So that's, on Friday, I did my little physical survey. And I went around and stopped at all the little streets and counted the homes. And I just don't understand the dynamics when they built the road. They didn't put enough emphasis on Marblehead Street. Once you get up at the other side of Darrow and go into Equestrian Drive, these people shouldn't have any need to get down Foley Drive to access Haverhill Street. I just don't understand why that was allowed. But then again, you know, things happen, and what can we do about that? But I just want to let you know that when you approve it, you know, you should make some changes in Foley Drive. You got to get the traffic off the road. You got to control the speeders. You got to post the streets. You see, no one really knows what a speed limit is in a residential neighborhood in North Reading. It should be 25 miles an hour. That's the max amount of speed. There should be stop signs. There should be signs saying children playing with the ball. You see them in other cities and towns. There's nothing on Foley Drive. Or any drives connected.
I guess I have to confess, Bob, I drive from Susan Drive through the neighborhood to Foley Drive to get to Haverhill Street to go to North Street.
I doubt that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I think I started doing that when they were doing the bridge construction. I got into a habit of doing it, right?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and that's okay.
There are stop signs there, and the
There
road,
are.
The top of the hill, which was a mess going
Right.
down, has been fully repaired,
Right.
right? The issue of speeders has got nothing to do with the street acceptance. If there are speeders and there's a complaint from the neighbors of speeding, we'll ask the police department to, you know.
We have asked them. They've been up there. But you can't park a car. There should be every town, and I don't care where you go, there's a sign, a posted speed sign. There's none up in our area. There's none up in Equestrian Drive. No one really knows what's the speed limit. It's like, it's an at-will.
State law that regulates
But
speed in a residential area.
Yeah, but people don't, if they
We
don't.
need a posted,
But I'm saying if you don't have a sign that people aren't going to want to even remember. You know how people are driving in the roads today. You know, it's no one's paying attention. But I'm saying it's residential. It should be a conservative approach to driving in the neighborhoods. That's all. I don't think that that's unfair. But I do think what's fair is to post 25 miles per hour to remind people, you know, they have a residential. They don't want to see the speeders, and we don't want to see them speeding.
Excuse me, Bob.
I'm sorry.
If I may,
Jeffrey.
I hope we still have it, but we